Look, I'm just going to say it now. Whenever I hit a rough spot and need a reset, this is what I do. 2020 has sucked for a lot of people. It stripped the ground from under their feet and felt like a massive step backwards. And yet, every morning, every start of the week, and every year brings with it an irresistible idea that we can reinvent ourselves and reset the course that our lives take. It's a promise that things can be different. Different from the last year, different from the life you've lived so far, and we as human beings love that. Look, I'm just going to say it now. There is no magic wand that is going to instantly transform your life to perfection. First of all, perfection is never and should never be the goal, but second of all, that would be too easy. What I'm offering to you today is not a magic wand, but a set of guidelines built on the systems and shoulders of giants. It's been tried and tested, by myself included. Whenever I hit a rough spot and need a reset, this is what I do. The aim is simple. By the end of this video, I hope you will have the tools that you need to take control of your life and reset its course in the direction of your choosing. The goal is to give yourself every chance of living your best life. Let's get started. I've broken down the process into two main steps. Part 1 is going to be about decluttering and making space for the system that we're going to build. Step 2 is Recentre, and that's going to involve reflecting on the past experiences and building a system to be able to reset your life. Let's talk about decluttering. If you build something, you want to build it on strong foundations. If your foundation is weak, then it's not going to hold. So the first thing we want to do is make room to build something new and start afresh. This has two parts to it, your physical and mental space. Whenever I go through this process of resetting my life, the first thing I always start with is cleaning my environment. Now you can take this to any level that you choose. It can be a deep clean of your whole house, or you can decide that you want to just declutter your desk space, so at least you've got that area where you can plan and reset your life. You can also take this to your digital space and declutter your desktop and phone. The key here is to declutter and make space. With your mind, it's the same concept. Most of the time, our minds are full of different things. We don't even realize it. At any one time, we probably have a couple of ideas floating around, admin to-dos, and plans and activities. If your brain is full of these, you can't use it to then build a new system. Take the Marie Kondo style approach to your mind and do what I call a brain dump. Write everything out on paper. Anything that comes to your mind, all the admin to-dos that you've thought of during the day, any ideas that you have for the future, anything that is floating in your mind, put it down on a piece of paper. It can be in any order at this point. It just needs to come out. You need to externalize everything in here and put it on a piece of paper. This gives you some distance to it. It gives you a bird's eye view so that you can look at what's going on inside your mind and have the brain space to actually make something of it. Depending on how often you do this exercise or how active your brain is, you may need to do this in a couple of sessions. Don't worry about it being neat. Once you've taken everything out, you can then organize it into different sections. So you can have a section for admin, one on ideas that you have for the future, others on a couple of to-do lists that you have. As long as it's out of your mind and semi-organized on a piece of paper, you've managed this step. You just want to release everything, declutter, let go of it, empty your mind and externalize it. This step makes sure that you've decluttered your space, emptied your mind, and made room to build something new. That is already half the battle won. Now that we've made room, we can start the real work. In this step, we rebuild the foundations that is your life. These strong, basic foundations that make for a solid outcome. I've broken this section into 3 steps. The first part will be to reflect and analyze. Part 2 will be dream deep, and part 3 will be to build a system. Let's talk about reflect. Someone very smart once said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." That's not a mistake that we want to make. So the goal here is to reflect on your previous life, your previous year, even in the last week. You decide how deep you want to go. Reflect and analyze the good, the bad. You can ask yourself a few questions to make this easier. What in your past have you been proud of? What is something that you regret? What are you most grateful for? What went wrong in the past and what did you learn from it? How would you want to do things differently? To fix an issue, the first step is to acknowledge it. So acknowledge it in this section. Anything that's made you unhappy in the past or not made you proud of who you are. Hopefully, the brain dump from the previous session should give you some ideas and get the juices flowing. Now we get to the fun part, dream deep. You can go completely wild here. There are no rules. Get yourself a massive piece of paper and write down everything that you want to be. It can be as modest or as crazy as you'd like. Don't worry about making this section realistic or achievable. Just write down anything that you can dream of that you would have wanted in this life. What kind of person do you admire? Who would you like to be? It can be anything from character traits to material objects and career aspirations. There is no limit to the dream process. A lot of the time we try to be so realistic we almost become cynical or pessimistic. Give yourself this opportunity. Even as a joke, just give yourself this moment to dream as much as you'd like without any limits. I'm going to be making an in-depth video of how to design your life. It will follow on really nicely from what we're talking about now, which is resetting your life. But this is a brief overview to get you started. The focus here is to get you refocused and in control of your life. In case you haven't noticed, this is pretty much a repeat of the brain dump session, except now we're focusing on putting all your dreams, desires, and goals onto a piece of paper and out of your mind. That way, it makes the process of filtering through that much easier. There's probably more than a dozen things on your piece of paper, and you now need to filter through that noise and break it down to find out what actually really matters to you. What I found to be really helpful is to pick a theme. This is an exercise that's meant to be done multiple times at least throughout the year or throughout your life, so pick a theme that matches how you feel right now. What is an overarching theme that you want to follow you through in life? To give you an idea, there are dozens of studies, including one at Harvard, that found gratitude to be strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness and satisfaction. That's one theme that you could pick in your life. It's not necessarily your absolute end goal, but rather it's something that you want to live your life by, and you want to make sure that your values and the things that you go after in life align with this. Use whichever tools you like to categorize and organize all the words that you've got on your piece of paper. You most probably have a couple of different sections, including health and fitness, career aspirations, relationships, and spirituality, or finding meaning in your life. That already is a very big deal because you've identified the categories that matter to you in life. Slowly but surely, in this process, we are making room and drowning out the static so that we can identify those key things. In each of these sections, you probably have a couple of things going on. So this is the bit where you need to pick. And yes, we all know what choice overload is. So if you have a couple of things on that list, it might be difficult to cut it down. The key is to go back to the basics. Pick one or two things in each section that are going to put you on the right trajectory to head where you want to go. Once you've reset your life and the course that you're taking, you can then slowly start adding other things to it. But the key here is not to do everything to the maximum capacity. It's to readjust and reset the course of your life. We now get to designing a system. This is where we combine your dream and your reality, and we make it something that works for you. There's a quote that I once heard that is absolutely true. No plan survives contact with reality. No matter how achievable or grand your goals are, if you don't have a solid system to fall back on, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's easy to have glorious plans. Everyone can do that. But what most people lack is a system. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, which I highly recommend, says in his book, "We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems." What we've done so far by decluttering is make space, and by making goals, we've set trajectories for where we want to head. A goal is a direction. A goal and a system will lead you to the result that you want. The way to do this is simple. We work backwards. Pick your goal and break it down little by little into a yearly, monthly, weekly, and daily habit. This may vary depending on your type of goal. So for example, if you're deciding to run a half marathon in the next 4 months, then you've got a clear timeline of what you need to do. You can even find a guide online and you'll have a breakdown of everything you need to do every week and pretty much every day of the week to get to that end goal. Some of your other goals may be a bit less tangible. So for example, you might have written down that you want to be financially independent or financially stable. Here's where you need to do some research so that you pinpoint exactly what that means for you. Does that mean to be debt-free? Is it a certain number in your bank account? Or is it the fact that you have enough for a couple of months so that if anything were to happen, you don't have to directly rely on your income to survive? Define those terms for you and then break it down into manageable and achievable chunks. The idea is simple. The system is essentially working back from your main goals so that you have a list of daily habits which will reset and determine the trajectory of your life as you've decided in the planning phase. Like I said, I'll include a lot more detail in the video on designing your life, but this should be enough to get you started. My conclusion is simple. It's not a perfect process. I go through a version of these steps multiple times in the year. To reset your life is to reset your mindset. And a mindset reset is a lifelong process. You can't do this as a one-off and then expect it all to work out. We all have a default mode network, a series of neurons in our brains that have automated a certain way of thinking. And if that way of thinking is negative, we need to catch ourselves. Thinking patterns become a part of who we are. So if for a very long time you've convinced yourself that you can't achieve your goals, and every time something doesn't go your way, you reaffirm that belief, you strengthen those networks in your brain. The job we're left with is having to reaffirm and positively influence our networks. Focus on identifying yourself and seeing yourself as the person you want to be. If you want to run a marathon, see yourself as a runner. The only difference between you and somebody who's run a marathon is running. So as long as you put that into your routine and make it a monthly, weekly, or daily habit, then you are that thing. And that's positively reaffirming an identity that you've chosen for yourself. And remember, we're all going to fail at some point. Our routine is not going to work out and life will get in the way. Successful people are not people who do not fail. They're people who rebound quickly. They're able to analyze their losses, pick up where they left off, and continue on the trajectory that they set for themselves. This is what the tools in this video are designed to do, to help you rebound and reset your life whenever it gets in the way. The danger is to think that if you can't do something perfectly, then you shouldn't do it at all. Each time you do something that pushes you in the trajectory of your goals, you are reaffirming that identity that you've chosen for yourself. So remember, don't beat yourself up. What counts is to show up, even on the bad days. I hope you found this information useful. I'd love to know in the comments down below if you've used any of these strategies in the past, or if you found other things to be really helpful. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.